wondered what he'd delivered, why whatever it was had not been with his wallet and lost property at the rhododendron. "A really big favour. Why don't you come and have a drink with me? I saw you looking at the portrait." "I wasn't doing anything else. There's a place down the road." "What's your name?" "Gerald," he said. "My name's Gerald." I'd never married, but I led the lifestyle of a married man. I had a flat in the concentrics where I kept the kitchen and the living room. I'd do overtime, let myself in, raid the slow cooker and arm it for the next day. When I cleaned up, I'd sit and watch stuff on the framework for an hour or so. I still had an account in those days. I was very young, I have to say, and I hadn't realised back then. Eventually a wife did materialise to fill the gap I was leaving, and for a while we sat and watched together, and I did more overtime. But eventually she had the flat in the concentrics, and I was on 3 sofa cushions on the floor in the suburb. At this stage I was doing much less overtime, and even taking less conventional time, then no time at all, and I spent a few months familiarising myself with the city and its shops and its backstreet routes from one park to the next. I'd had to find another job after a while, a step down but regular administration, enough to keep me busy, solvent, distracted. It was time again for a cigarette, and I stopped to dig out the necessary at the corner of Kilhope Street. This was where the portrait of Stanley Kilhope stood, under clear plastic, with its long dedication, a list of his dwellings and unreal achievements. Some of the details of the picture were famous, like the mouse poking its head from under his coat. Around the corner, I asked for a ham sandwich, but there was no ham, so I asked for something else. I took it back around and stood looking at the mouse, working up to taking a bite. There was a man standing behind me, I realised, who was much taller than me, and I swiveled my head up to the appropriate angle. "Excuse me, sir, are you a framework user?" "I have an account," I said, but my intermediary was not working. His jacket was dirty, with proper dirt, grey and slimy, dishevelled, but polite enough for me to continue talking with him. He was, he told me, due at an address in the modules. "Mine is inside Rhododendron," he told me. "I can't get it back until they open up tonight. See, I slept by their bins there last night." This was my moment to go and finish my sandwich somewhere else, but I was actually explaining about the public area maps at the library. Our friendship was now established, it seemed, for he was telling me he'd left his wallet there too. I've been burned many times like this. He took my address. "It's for work," he said. "You have a job?" "Well, no, I'm exempt now, but I still work. I'm a courier. I'm going to deliver your cash." The next evening he did. I had not been expecting this and told him so. He was wearing a clean jacket and he had a leather wallet. He'd made the delivery and I'd done him a big favour. It wasn't until later that I wondered what he'd delivered. Why, whatever it was had not been with his wallet in lost property at the rhododendron. "A really big favour. Why don't you come and have a drink with me? I saw you looking at the portrait." "I wasn't doing anything else. There's a place down the road." "What's your name?" "Gerald," he said. "My name's Gerald."
It's a bit long.
Is it? Let's investigate. Gather here, this street, looking conspicuous. Grey hats, typical suits, ladies in glum hues, trousers, shoes like in good homes to strict limits. I've got here the special lamp. It gets hard to see later inside. Listen, if ghosts happen to stir, leave. I'll go home to sleep. Likewise individually. Got? Heard? There? Sure? Layman's introductory guide. Have to say, lest it gets heavy today. Spectres lurk ineffably. Gerald's house, 13th story. Look inside. Growing huge, too sizable, lately incredible, gigantic, housebound, tailored secretly. Living indoors, giving himself to silence, lights in glass holders totaling shadow, looming, incredibly, Gerald himself, triple-sized. Levitating, I gazed, horrified, to see letters in great heaps, towering stacks, ideograms, good handwriting though, small, letters illuminated, gilt, heavenly to see. Now it happened that our hero had a hobby. Let me start again. Now it happened that our hero had a hobby. From above, the fields had the form of a gaming table, for cards, say, or otherwise. But this has nothing to do with his hobby. What do you think that was? You guessed it. He loved animals. There was a birdcage hanging at the back. He kept a parrot in there. The damn thing was older than he was. A rat. He left a saucer of milk out sometimes. It was always gone by morning. The people next door owned a horse, a fact that drove him into fits of envy. When these took hold of him, he was inconsolable and lay on the floor for hour upon hour. It's good to have a hobby, though. Most people do.